Welcome to Annapolis Mosaics. Our program spotlights people in our community who are involved in activities intended to promote good human relations. I am Michael Keller, the chair of the Annapolis Human Relations Commission and your host. The commission is a city board that seeks to promote equal opportunity and to eliminate discrimination. My guest today is Patricia Slaughter, the founder and chairwoman of the Bernie House.
That's correct. Thank you very much.
Patricia, welcome to Annapolis Mosaics.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here. Thank you.
Well, what is the mission of the Bernie House?
Well, the Bernie House is a transitional housing program for families fleeing domestic violence. I believe when people think transitional housing, they first immediately think of a shelter. And the Bernie House is, well, there's a saying, if you fall down 7 times, get up 8. So the Bernie House is for the person who is getting up for the 8th time. They're prepared and they're ready to leave their abuser. And most often they are coming from shelters into the Bernie House program. And what we do is we allow them 2 years' time. And during that time, we work with other agencies in the community that provide the counseling, training, and education that they need to become gainfully employed and to become independent at the end of the 2 years of the program.
Okay, how did the Bernie House get started? What's your history?
Bernie was my father, and in my early 20s, I worked with my father, and he raised funds, and he started a foundation raising funds for irrigation systems, hospitals, schools, clinics, all throughout Africa and as far as Bangladesh and as south as Honduras. So I worked with him side by side for years, traveling all to these foreign countries. And my father passed away in '97. And, you know, our country is beset with its own problems, and I wanted to do something in memory of my father. And something that bothered him were children that were abused and neglected. Mm-hmm. So I didn't want to reinvent the wheel. So I was in my search to find something that would help children who were abused and neglected. Mm-hmm. I wound up volunteering for the Abused Persons Program, where I was a court companion, and basically I would show up on Tuesdays and meet the victim who was meeting her abuser or his abuser for the first time at the arraignment. And I sat with a woman before we went into the courtroom, and she became so violently ill and sick, we had to call 911 and get her off to the hospital. And it was at that point that I felt this is where I need to be.
My guess is that it's pretty competitive to get into the Bernie House since it is a single family transition house. So what criteria do you and your board use to determine who is accepted to be a resident at Bernie House?
It's very difficult because there are a lot of people who need housing. Yeah. What we do is we do have a board of directors, and we do work with other agencies involved. So for instance, we have the clinical director of the organization that I deal with, that she recommends the client. So she knows the type of person that we're looking for. So we're looking for someone who's ready to make that move onto stability. Mm-hmm. So that process is done, and then they're interviewed through the board of directors. And during that time, they're also made to go back and write an essay on how they would benefit from the Bernie House, what their goals are, what their aspirations are, and where they see themselves in 2 years.
Mm-hmm. What kinds of individuals over the time have taken advantage of being at the Bernie House? What kinds of backgrounds do you see people coming? Is there any common denominator in terms of the the types of individuals in terms of demographics and in terms of family issues? Anything that would strike you as sort of the typical resident?
Well, I don't think there is any typical to domestic violence, because it hits every economic range.
Right.
Anyone can be affected by domestic violence.
Right.
Most of our clients have been women,
Right.
and they have had children. We've had women up to 4 children in the household, and this most recent woman we had and her 2 little girls.
What are the obligations of the residents during the time that they're staying there, and how long can they remain in the Bernie house in residence? Is it open-ended, or is there a cutoff period in terms of when people really are expected to leave so that you can accommodate others?
Well, the end of the program is 2 years.
Okay.
And during their time there, the first initial meeting is when they come in, is we're setting goals, and we have a 6-month review, and at that review is, have we obtained those goals? Have we not? If we haven't, how do we? And if we have obtained those goals, great, what's the next goal? So we do that checks and balances every 6 months with the client and their family.
Do families receive help from other organizations during their stay at Bernie House? You made some reference to some of the assistance that people do get. So what kinds of services have you found to be most beneficial in terms of working in collaboration with other organizations?
Well, what happens to the victims is they usually go to shelters, and shelters focus on the immediate needs, which is a necessary step. But what happens to most victims is, because they've been so isolated and they have been pulled away from any network of friends, they don't have the financial resources. So the shelters are focusing on these immediate needs. So it's temporary cash assistance, if it's child daycare vouchers that they need. So they are in connection with the state and federal funding that's there for people in need. And that continues because the shelters are providing the case management to our clients throughout their stay. So they've established a relationship at these shelters in a crucial part of their lives, and they're making a huge transition. And that relationship continues for 2 years, and I think that provides a sense of stability for the clients.
What have you found to be probably the most rewarding part of this ministry, which you've set up? I mean, this is something that obviously you've put a lot of your time into, a lot of emotional energy into. What aspect of it have you found to be the most rewarding for you?
Well, there's many, because you do see horrific things and learn horrific things. But at the same time, when you're raising funds to help the victims, you see the beauty in your neighborhood of the people who want to help and support people, and who have helped make the Bernie House a reality. The last success story that we have had is the family that was in the Bernie House has just recently moved out a few weeks ago. And I don't think I mentioned, but during the time that they're staying in the Bernie House, they are meant to learn how to budget the household. They are meant to pay for their utilities, groceries, and I do figure out rent on a sliding scale according to their income. And this is also helping them, learn the independence and how to budget a household. Of course, some of them have probably never had any experience, or they've never had the independence to be able to have any kind of working on a checkbook, or money or financial. And the recent success is that the mother was able to receive an $8,000 check, and we allow them to take the entire contents of the household with them. Now, if that doesn't provide stability, you know, and confidence. They've gone on the first month's security, you know, the first month or maybe 2 or 3 months rent, a down payment on a household, and the entire place furnished. That really does help somebody to move on and above their hardships and to give them a life of hope.
Right. Well, we're going to take a break now, but when we return, I'm going to be exploring with Patricia some other stories that she has found to be especially meaningful to her in terms of the residents of Bernie House.
It's cold and flu season, and the last thing you want is to be sick or make others sick. So here's what you do to stop germs and stay healthy. Cover your coughs. Wash your hands after sneezing, coughing, or blowing your nose. Wash with warm water and soap for 20 seconds, and then dry. When you can't wash your hands, use an alcohol-based sanitizer. If you do get sick, stay home. Stop germs, stay healthy.
Hey, I'm talking today with Patricia Slaughter, who is the founder and chairwoman of the Bernie House, which provides transitional housing for families in which there's been an experience of domestic violence. Could you share with our viewers other cases of residents at the Bernie House, other stories about their experiences that you have seen that have been especially meaningful to you?
I would have to say that among women and children that are homeless, 80% have experienced domestic violence. So just to be able to provide a roof over a family's head is wonderful. To see them experience just this outpour of support that they've never had before. We've watched our clients get GEDs. We've watched them get GEDs and get into the community colleges and get scholarships. We've watched them go from entry-level positions into management positions. We've watched the flowers bloom, and that right there is an inspiration and why I keep doing it.
Does the Bernie House make use of volunteers, and if so, in what way?
We do.
Okay.
We do. Most of our volunteers, we've had volunteers that have gone in and assisted with balancing checkbooks, preparation of meals, you know, proper ways to help raise their children. And we have a huge resource of volunteers. We have events. We have a Walk a Mile in Her Shoes that we have in May. And that is all supported by volunteers. We have a golf tournament where we have a golf committee, and it's all supported by volunteers, local businessmen and women sponsoring the program. We have a music festival that we do in September. And all of these are all possible because of our volunteers.
Yeah. And can I presume that, and correct me if I'm wrong, that it's through these kinds of programs which you've just mentioned that you derive the greatest amount of your funds?
Yes, sir.
Because I was going to ask about how you got your money, and it's mainly through these yearly fundraisers that you have. And what were those again, so our viewers can keep them in mind?
In May will be our Walk a Mile in Her Shoes, where we walk around Annapolis.
Okay.
We start at Blackwall Hitch walk all the way up to Church Circle and back,
All right.
and end it with a great party.
Okay.
Then we also have our golf tournament. Next year will mark our 20th
All right.
annual golf tournament. Last year we were full. We've never had that happen before. We had over the capacity of golfers.
Oh.
And then we also have our music festival that we do.
Mm-hmm.
That's in September.
If you had to look down the road 5 years and say, this is what I would envision the Bernie House to be like, what would you identify? What would you like to see 5 years out in terms of what the Bernie House would be, in terms of what this project, how this project would look? How would you like to see it grow?
Well, I started the Bernie House with a good heart and wanted to help other people in memory of my father. In less than 13 years, I was able to pay off the mortgage of the first facility. And I believe that, my head and nose has been so to the paper. What next? What do I need to do? Will we make that mortgage payment? Will we be able to pay these bills? Am I going to have to shut the doors? And I've experienced all of those. But when I was able to pay off the mortgage last December, I sat back and I was just amazed. I think it was the first time that I actually was able to sit back and pause and look at all the good that was done, all the success stories that we have, the fabulous testimonies that we have from all of our clients. And it was that just had me roll up my sleeves to, we need a second one and we need another one here in Anne Arundel County. So in 5 years, it'd be wonderful to have 3 or 4 Bernie houses and to be able to help more families. Because I believe the Bernie House, it's a unique, genuine family environment. And I think that is what's really providing the success for our clients.
You talked about testimonials from the people who have stayed there. What kinds of things specifically do you hear in these testimonials? What do people say to you? What kinds of accolades do you get? What kinds of suggestions do you derive from people who've experienced it?
I get a lot of...
What do you hear? What do people say?
I don't know where I would have been without the Bernie House. I only hope that the Bernie House continues to grow so they can help women like me. The Bernie House has provided hope when I had no hope.
In short, this has been an opportunity that they really needed to have at this juncture in their life because of the experiences that they had in dealing with domestic violence in their immediate lives. This is a place that they could, in effect, escape to and receive not only protection but some degree of love and support that helps them get back on their feet and move ahead with their lives.
Truly, security, safety, stability, strength.
Yeah. What kind of support? I mean, in introducing you, I mentioned that you were the founder of this. You're also the chairwoman for it. Obviously, this is something that this has been an organization that you've directed. This is your so-called baby. And I've seen others. I can think of others, including one that I'm very familiar with, which I won't mention here on the air, but it's the same thing. It was one dedicated, devoted person who has made a project a success and has had a numerous amount of impact on people and the like. How does that help you in your own life? How does that assist you in terms of any difficulties you may face in your life or any problems that may come up? How does this contribute to your sense of accomplishment and sense of doing?
You know, all I can say is that I stepped up with passion.
Yeah.
I stepped up to do good. Yeah. I have a dogged approach.
Uh-huh.
Don't give up.
Right.
And I believe that attitude also flows into our clients.
Yeah.
And with that, everything is possible.
Yeah. Have you had any assistance from other individuals that you can think of, or organizations for that matter, that you would really like to shout out about, and organizations that have perhaps helped you immeasurably, or individuals who have helped you immeasurably in terms of making this program a success?
Well, I'd have to say about this time last year, there were 3 women that I met who truly helped last year with some major events that we had, who really helped put the Bernie House on the map of the minds of the people here in Anne Arundel County. And that was Darlene, Holly, and Karen.
Okay.
I'd have to also say my husband.
Okay.
Without him behind me, none of this would be possible, or his successes. I also have to say my children.
Okay.
I also have to say the YWCA.
All right.
Has
What
been
is the Y?
inspirational.
What is the Y done for you?
Well, there's been communication going on about working together and providing the case management for the Bernie House clients here in Anne Arundel County. And Molly Knipe has been very inspirational to me and pushed my thinking outside of the box. And I'd also have to say Jamie from BizPeak has also done that for me. I've been surrounded by a lot of inspirational women and men who have made me step out of the box to broaden the program.
Well, you know, I'm certain that our viewers are going to want to learn more. How can they get in contact with you? Do you have some information, like a telephone number or a website that you would like to direct them to?
We have our website, which is www.theberniehouse.org.
Okay. Could you repeat that so the folks can just write that down?
www.theberniehouse.org.
Thank you for viewing our program today, and please join us again on Annapolis Mosaics. If you would like more information about the Annapolis Human Relations Commission, please jot down the information on your screen. You can reach us at 410-263-7998 or by email at hrcommission@annapolis.gov. And check out our page at the City of Annapolis website. Go to www.annapolis.gov, click on City Government, then Boards and Commissions, and scroll down to the Human Relations Commission page. And always remember the words of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who said, "We have flown the air like birds and swum the seas like fishes, but have yet to learn the simple act of walking the earth as brothers and sisters."